CHGO Bulls is now on your airwaves during CHGO Spirit Week, y'all. Coming up, we've got a mystery guest. We don't know who it is. Come find out with us. Also, trading up for Ace Bailey could be a thing, and some Jonathan Kuminga news as well for a sign and trade. Katie's going to slap you really, really hard. CHGO Spirit Week rages on a Tuesday, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome into the CHGO Bulls podcast, part of the ALLCITY Network. I am Big Dave. You can follow me on BAWL Sports. Bam. That is Will the Goat Gottlieb. You can follow him at Will_Gottlieb. And the one on the drums, the pianos, and the keyboards, and the guitar, that is Katie back there on production.
And
ladies and gentlemen, how are you, Katie?
I have a challenge today.
Oh, already off job. Okay.
I just did the Blackhawk show.
Congratulations.
During that time, they raised $46. I would like us to beat that today. I don't care about where we are in the standings with other markets. Sure. I said this earlier today. I just want to beat the other shows here. So Blackhawks at $46. We need to get 47 or more. So next to the chat, you can see the little donate button. It's like two hands and they're like shaking and there's a little heart. Mm-hmm. Hit that, 47 or more dollars.
And this is money that's going to...
Oh, right.
I was about to say,
yeah, it's not, sorry.
For charity.
Yes,
it's not going to us.
Threatens you to give money in this charity.
Philanthropic efforts.
Thank you
to
for
help
clarifying.
our partners at the Big Brothers and Big Sisters of America.
Yes.
Who we're working with, who we're partners with. As you can see behind Dave, maybe you can't see it there on the sign, but we're helping raise money for them. It's not for us.
No.
Trying to do some good deeds.
Yes. 100% of the donations that you all give will go directly to the Big Brothers and Big Sisters of America. YouTube will cover all of your transaction fees. So all you have to do is give. It goes directly to them.
Yeah, they're not taking
anything.
anything
Does not come anywhere
off the
near
top.
us. Yes, comes directly to them. And if you'd like to become a big brother or a big sister, you can sign up at bbbs.org/AllCity. And this is all part of our Spirit Week that is going on. And today on Spirit Week, it is Mystery Guest Day, or as I like to call it, Goat's least favorite day, because he can't prepare for who the mystery guest is. Are you excited and terrified, Goat?
That's exactly what I am. How did you know?
Been hanging around you for a while, sir. But yeah, come find out with us who will that mystery guest be. But of course, we got plenty of Bulls talk to get into. Ace Bailey, will the Bulls be trading up for him? I don't know. Some Jonathan Kuminga sign and trade news we will get into as well. But first, before we get into that, real quick, let's talk about this NBA Finals that just occurred, ladies and gentlemen. The 120-109 was the final score as OKC beat the Pacers in Game 5. They are now up 3-2. They are one game away from winning their first ever NBA championship. Jalen Williams was absolutely out of his mind. 40 points, 6 boards, 4 assists. SGA was out of his mind with 31 points and 10 assists. Halliburton was in his mind, and that's not a positive thing. He was injured, but he did not score a field goal, which was bad. Please stop with the superstar talk for me. Goat, thoughts on this game?
Yeah, it was too bad from Halliburton. Obviously, dealing with the calf or hamstring strain, whatever it was. I can't remember the exact reporting, but
calf strain.
I mean,
calf.
he was. I don't want to say he was a non-factor because, like, he was still. I thought he rebounded well. I thought he was still able to like draw help and create some open looks. But for a Pacers team that basically didn't have their best player and shot 11 of 30 from 3, to only lose by 11 when it felt like they were down by 25 the whole game wasn't that bad. I mean, I wouldn't feel encouraged about this. You're down 3-2 in the finals, but like, I don't think this is over in the sense that they have no chance. I think it's an uphill battle. I don't think they're going to win, but like, it would not surprise me if they're able to make one last push to get this to 7 games.
Yeah.
When you think about what went right for the Thunder. It was like Case and Wallace hit a bunch of threes. Aaron Wiggins came in and hit a bunch of threes. They shot 44%. Shea, 31 points. J-Dub, 40 points. Like a lot went right for them. And it felt like, with the exception of McConnell's hot third quarter and a very good but not like incredible game from Siakam, nothing really went right for the Pacers. Now, obviously, Halliburton has to be closer to himself, but like I still think they're alive a little bit.
No, they're alive, and something absolutely did go right, and that was T.J. McConnell.
Yeah,
sir.
McConnell was awesome.
Lost his mind and was out there balling out in that third quarter.
He had
and
like 15 or something in the third
man,
round.
he lost his mind. They got that lead down to 2. They made it very close, and yeah, I don't think it's over. I did have OKC in 6. This is going exactly as I thought it would go, but I want 7 games. I know the GOAT won 7 games. I know Matt Peck won 7 games. We won 7 games of this, and Game 6 will take place on Thursday. And one more stat, OKC, 42% from the field, 43% from 3.
Yeah, I mean, they were just super hot, and they had not been up until this game, so it's not like, it still feels like it's kind of averaging out, but Caruso had kind of a tough game in terms of scoring the ball, but their defense is just so absurd. I mean, they 15 steals, 12 blocks. Indiana had 22 turnovers, which is just like, you're almost never going to win that game when you get beat on the margins like that. And again, like it felt like they were down 25 the whole game and they lost by 11 and they cut it down to 2 in the fourth quarter. They did. I'm hopeful that this will be another competitive game in Game 6. I'm hopeful that Pacers win and push it to 7 because this finals has been really exciting. Yeah. And it just feels like, in terms of makes and misses, like it doesn't feel that special, but like the effort level, the intensity, the physicality of this series has been like really awesome to watch. It's been like an incredible finals, and I'm not ready for it to end. No, not at all, man. Especially people thought it was going to be a boring final. Some people thought it was going to be short, and rightfully so. But it's been a long series, man, and we want more of it. So, like I said, Game 6, Thursday in Indiana at the Field House. We'll see how it goes, man. We're pulling for greatness, as I always am. So we'll be tuning in for that. But let's get to some news about the Chicago Bulls, man, because I like the fact that the Bulls' name is starting to be mentioned with some of these picks in this draft, GOAT. That always excites me. And one of the names that has always kind of been mentioned with the Chicago Bulls is Jonathan Kuminga. He has continued to be mentioned by the Chicago Bulls, and the Bulls may be in the mix to acquire the services of one young Jonathan Kuminga in a sign and trade. Let's take a look at what our guy Michael Scotto has to say from Hoops Hype. The Chicago Bulls and Miami Heat are 2 teams to monitor as potential sign and trade candidates for Kuminga, league sources told Hoops Hype. I wouldn't say it excited me. It was just really cool to sit there and see that the Bulls are continuing to be mentioned with Kuminga, because it feels like that door never closes, GOAT. Like there's always something kind of prying that door open. There's a Vooch-sized foot in that door, and it feels like Golden State is trying to get it in there. Yeah, it'll be interesting. I mean, I think the most likely outcome is that Kuminga re-signs with the Warriors. Basically, the options are, because there are so few teams with cap space, maybe the Nets, who are really the only real player in free agency this year, throw a big offer sheet at him, and the Warriors say, we're not in the business of paying him $30 million a year. All year is Brooklyn, and he goes to the Nets. The other option is that he stays with the Warriors. They are in a position where there is not a huge market for him right now. Yeah. It seems to me that the Brooklyn Nets, based on like the rumors and rumblings and reportings that we've been hearing, are not interested in throwing out big offer sheets the way that they have in like 2014, 2015, 2016. Mm-hmm. They want to keep their space open and make a play for like real legitimate stars, whether that's Giannis, maybe it's Trae Young next year. They want to take some real swings to bring some superstars in-house. And I think they're more interested in like keeping that flexibility open than taking on long-term contracts like these. Now, maybe they take on a bad contract here or there, but it's 1 year, helps another team get off some money, and they get a pick for doing business. Mm-hmm. Maybe they can flip that guy down the line. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't seem like they want to lock anything down to 3 or 4 or 5 year deals as they may have in the past. So with those two things being the case, it seems like the Warriors are most likely going to keep him, try to bring him back on a good number, and then trade him once he becomes tradable towards the deadline. However, there is still the possibility of a sign and trade. Yes. Now, that's probably where the Bulls will get in because they don't have cap space. They can't be one of those teams that offers him a restricted offer sheet. But maybe they can work something out on the sign and trade market. Obviously, there was the rumors about Vooch going to the Warriors, and I think Lonzo would be a really great fit there. I feel like Kobe would be a really great fit there. So there's options. The challenge with this is that there is an issue with what's called base year compensation. And that's a rule for players on their rookie scale contracts who are about to get more than, I think it's 140% of what they were making. So basically, if a rookie who's coming at the end of his contract is about to get a big raise, his outgoing salary counts for whatever that number is for the new team. But for the incoming salary, it's only half. So for example, if the Bulls wanted to sign Jonathan Kuminga to a $30 million a year contract, that would count to $30 million on the Bulls books, but it would only count to 15 on the Warriors. And so they can't take in more than a certain amount. I think it's like 140% or 120% of that. So if it's 15 million, they can maybe take in 17 and a half or 18 million. But that means that Kuminga at $30 million for Vooch does not work in the new salary. So the only way that could work is if it's Kobe or Ayo Kobe or Lonzo. Maybe Ayo's involved. Maybe it's a 2-for-1 or something like that. But there's just a challenge there. And it requires a big contract for a guy that is unproven. Sure, he has a lot of upside and has had some great moments with the Warriors, but he's also had some really bad moments where he wasn't playing in the playoffs. He was totally removed from the rotation, never got the trust of Steve Kerr, and was not really someone that fit into the Warriors style of play. And if you're the Bulls and you're trying to get guys that fit into their style of play, you don't know about that fit. So to me, I think this is unlikely, but I do think it's possible. It would probably have to revolve around either Lonzo and additional assets, probably in the form of draft picks, or Kobe, where maybe the Bulls would be getting something else back as well. So a little bit complicated there, but I don't think that the door is closed on that.
Well, let me read this. What else Michael Scotto had to say about this when he was talking about Vooch in this situation. Last season, Golden State expressed interest in trading for Vooch, now entering the final year of his contract. With the Warriors in win-now mode, Vooch's durability, scoring, shooting, and rebounding are all traits that would appeal to the Warriors. Chicago roster has gotten younger, and Kuminga, 23 in October, would fit their timeline better than Vooch, who's 35 in October and wants to win now, ideally. So even though the contract tells you that it's more difficult, does the appeal of Vooch, is that why we continue to hear this deal kind of still being on the table? Because even though it might be difficult to arrange that contract, the player that Vooch is could fit in wonderfully with a team like Golden State.
Yeah, I think he really does. I think it's probably not quite as good a fit after they traded for Jimmy. Another guy who likes to operate in the middle of the floor, another guy who is not really a premier floor spacer. Obviously, he gets hot in the playoffs, but he can be a ball dominant guy. And I think he fit in really well with what the Warriors were trying to do. But when you introduce another player like that, who does like to feel the ball, does like to be involved in the motion of the offense, and is not either a, legit rim protector or legit 3-point shooter. Obviously he was really great last year, but struggled the few years before. You don't necessarily know what you're going to get. I do think that fit is a little bit complicated just on the basketball court. And then as we talked about, the money makes it even more challenging. It's just they're an expensive team. The salary outgoing for Kuminga won't be enough to bring back Vooch, so you'd have to bring in some other players into the mix, and then what does that cost you in terms of depth? So there's some challenges there, but I do think in general, Vooch is a really good fit there. And if this doesn't work out, it would not surprise me if he ends up signing there as a free agent on a much smaller deal after his contract expires after this next season.
Interesting to say right there. Yeah, I could see him
just
going.
Guess, but
no, it's a good guess because I think we all believe he's going somewhere where he's going to have a chance to absolutely win and fit in and win. So that's going to be very important to a guy like Vooch, man. I do have one more Kuminga question for you. I'll ask you that question after this break. And also on the other side of this break, Bulls trading up for Ace Bailey. Lord, if you love me, please let this be a thing. Oh, I want this to be so. Come on back. We're going to talk about it. CHGO Bulls podcast.
Before we go to break, we got 3 amazing donations that I feel like we just need to shout out right now.
Hit the
horn. I don't
horn.
want to wait. Oh, wait. You can't put me on the spot.
You yelled at people to get it. You should have the horn ready.
Okay, there's the horn.
Thank you.
$50 from Jason. Jason, shout out.
Shout
That's
out,
amazing.
Jason.
Anonymous, also with $50. I don't know who you are, but shout out.
God,
phenomenal.
thank you.
Dr. Professor with $23. I
Beautiful.
assume that's MJ theme. That's amazing.
Shout
MJ
out.
is not the special guest, but I appreciate it nonetheless. That's amazing,
I'll turn
guys.
them down.
Thank you so much.
Thank you guys so much. That's
Yes.
amazing.
And continue to keep that coming, ladies and gentlemen. We appreciate that. Continue to donate during this break also. We'll see you after this.
Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping, a place where all kinds of visitors are welcome to explore, discover, and purchase a wide array of high-quality products. Sunnyside has everything you need to elevate your summer. It is your one-stop shop for all your cannabis needs. They have an expertly curated menu with easy online ordering and in-store pickup at locations in the city like Wrigleyville and River North, and in the suburbs like Champaign and South Beloit. If you're a pro, they've got you covered with over 100 strains on the menu. And if you're just starting out, they've got expert guidance that can help you find what you are looking for. They've got the Good News and Mindy's, which are great for beginners. Visit sunnyside.shop for Right Buys every day, including 50% off your first 3 online purchases. That's an incredible steal, and you can get it using promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary, Bright Buys every day, only for 21 or older, or Illinois Med Card holders. And for existing users, you'd use promo code CHGO50 for 50% off one Cresco Labs brand item.
It's hot. Summer's about to be all up in your face with all that heat.
Bam.
You're going to need Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric to get your AC correct. They have been serving Chicago land for over 50 years. Now is the time to get your air conditioning checked out, and Four Seasons experts are ready to help you with AC installation, maintenance, and repair. You can save up to $4,000 on new comfort systems with Four Seasons, new AC units from $39 a month, and AC furnaces combos for $57 a month. Your trusted local experts are Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. Visit fourseasonsheatingcooling.com for all their special offers and money-saving coupons. That's fourseasonsheatingelectric.com, heatingcooling.com, because for all the right reasons, call 866-4SEASONS. Look up at the sky. CHGO Bulls podcast, y'all. Will the Go Gottlieb, Big Dave, Katie on production. Katie, that anonymous tip came from our guy Larry Strickland. Our guy Strick sent in. He said he doesn't know why it came up anonymous, but Wu-Tang is for the children.
Shout out. Thank you.
Shout out Strick, man. That's our
Strick,
guy.
we love you.
Yes, we do, man. Rolling along CHGO Bulls podcast, y'all. Remember, I said we got a mystery guest coming up, so stay tuned for that. We don't know who it is. We will find out together,
I'm
ladies
scared.
and gentlemen. He's scared and excited. I'm just excited. But come find out what it is, y'all. But before we get in to this Ace Bailey talk, I guess this means, since I'm going into this, that I'm going to be taking the temp. That's what I'm going to say I'm doing. I'm saying I'm taking the temp. We're taking the temp, and we're doing it on Jonathan Kuminga. Qualifying offer talk. Four Seasons Heating, Air Conditioning, Plumbing, and Electric. Make sure you hit them up at fourseasonsheatingcooling.com, because for all the right reasons, 866-4SEASONS. Go, Kuminga. I still have Kuminga questions for you, sir. So that's why I want to take the temp on this. So I guess I'm taking your temp on these Jonathan Kuminga questions. What would a sign and trade really look like with the Chicago Bulls with a guy like Jonathan Kuminga? Because we've heard, you've talked about his contracting thing. I was reading Bobby Marks' article, who has him signing at 3 years, I believe $81 million or something like that. Do you think that's the right number that it would be to sign a guy like Kuminga, or is it something maybe a little bit lower or maybe a little on the higher end?
I think it's a very similar predicament that the Bulls are in with Josh Giddey, which is that there has been some really exciting flashes where you see talent that there just isn't a lot of in the NBA. It's rare to find a 6'9" point guard who can get a 20, 10, and 10 triple-double. It's rare to find a forward who's as athletic and dynamic with the ball in his hands, who finishes well, who can create his own shot and score the way that Kuminga can. So there is flashes there, but there's also a lot of questions, right? Defensively, I think both guys leave a lot to be desired. Decision-making, just in terms of Kuminga and his ability to play and participate in a system, I think that has been a challenge for him. I think he is a guy that really wants to be great, wants to be an all-star, and feels like, I don't want to speak for him or try to get into his head, but it just seems like from the outside looking in that he has wanted to establish his style of play in his game because he feels like that's what he can do best, which makes a lot of sense for a young player, but it just hasn't necessarily meshed with what the Warriors are trying to accomplish and have accomplished during their very successful last decade run. So I don't know what the right number is. I think it'll probably end up being a similar number to what Giddey signs for. You're looking at something in the 20 to 30 range, probably closer to 30 than 20. And I think it's more a question of years than dollars. And so, Bobby Marks 3 for 81 is $27 million a year. That's a shorter term deal, so you can get off of it sooner. It also means you have to re-sign him sooner. And if he plays really well and outperforms that, then you're looking at a much greater deal. So to me, with both Giddey and Kuminga, I probably want to go less money in terms of annual dollars, but longer so that you have a higher chance to get upside. That could totally backfire, and you could be stuck with $18 million of money on your books that is basically not playing for you, like what happened with Patrick Williams. Or it could work out really well where you're getting a value contract for 4 or 5 years. And I think just based on what Kuminga's shown you, he's been more productive, more dynamic than Patrick Williams. So you'd at least feel comfortable paying him more than that. So for me, it just depends. I think part of it will be, what does he want to sign for? Does he want a short-term deal so he can get back on the market? Or does he want to lock in as much money as possible because this is his first contract and you just never know in the NBA? And then based on that, that's how you'll be able to determine what the Warriors are able to take back. If he signs for $20 million, they can't take back more than about 10 or 12. If he signs for 30, that number goes up to 15, 16, 17. So that will determine what the Bulls send back, who ends up being in that deal. Would you do it if it was Kobe? If it was a $30 million, $28 million a year contract? Or let's say it's at 3 for 81, 27 a year. Would you do Jonathan Kuminga for Kobe?
No, I'm not a huge Kuminga guy. And I guess that's what the no comes from for me. I saw someone in the comments talking about the actual fit of why would Billy Donovan do something like this, like have a Kuminga on his team. And you just talking about, the downfalls and things and issues that he's had. The main one is fitting in. It was fitting in with Golden State. And I understand that because he feels like he's the man. I get that. But if you can't fit in with that kind of team, I think there's something to be said about that, personally for me. So when you can't fit in with Steph Curry, even though Draymond is not a great guy off the court, I'm sure you can have issues with that. But on the floor, he's very unselfish. You know what I'm saying? And he's not looking to take the ball out of anybody's hand. He's looking to facilitate and do whatever they need to do to win. So if you can't find yourself in that kind of offense, I don't know, man. And I have an issue with that. That could be a Jordan Poole kind of situation where I was like, if he goes to Washington, Jordan Poole is going to be miserable, but he's going to score a lot. Could that be a thing like Kuminga, is a guy that is going to needs to take a lot of shots, for him to be truly, truly effective on that floor? And I don't mind, like I said, I don't mind the mentality. I don't know how that fits here with what the Bulls and the style that they're trying to do and the style that they're trying to run right now. They have made that decision and shown you it's Giddey and the committee, and they are going to run and be a team that shares the basketball. It's kind of similar with what you're seeing in Golden State, with those players that they have. They don't have, just big-name players outside of Steph, Jimmy Butler, and Draymond Green, but those guys know their role. Like, Kuminga going to come here, bro, and he going to be like, what role? I'm better than all y'all. You know what I'm saying? Give me the basketball. I'm going to do my thing. So that worries me, strictly from a system perspective, because the Bulls, because they're in contract negotiations, as we've just talked about with our guy Mark Stein, they're in negotiations with Billy. So it's about what Billy's style is. And he's shown you what his style is, and I'm scared that it doesn't fit. So that's why I probably wouldn't do that trade. And plus the fact that I just love Kobe as I do.
Yeah, I wouldn't do it for Kobe because I think Kobe's too important. I think he's better than Kuminga. And I think you're probably going to end up paying him roughly the same if it's $27 to $30 million. I'd rather pay Kobe that money than Kuminga. But if it's Lonzo and maybe that Blazers pick, or maybe even Lonzo and a different pick, I don't know if I would do 12, but maybe a protected future pick or something with Lonzo, who'd be a great fit with the Warriors. I'd be more inclined to do that. I think Kuminga could be successful in the Bulls system because it's not so much read and react to, or it's more read and react in terms of trying to play with an advantage and less trying to play to a certain style of passing and ball movement within the half court. So to me, I think I do think Kuminga could be successful with the Bulls, and I think he'd actually put up some really big numbers. I mean, we saw this with a lot of guys, whether it was Giddey, Kobe, Trey Jones was putting up big numbers in their system. Kevin Huerter was doing the same. Vooch, Zach Collins all had moments towards the back end of last year. So I think he could fit. To me, it's are you going to have a lineup with Modest, Kuminga, and Giddey out there, and maybe a non-shooting center too long-term? That's not a lot of floor spacing, and it relies a lot on playing fast, making quick decisions, getting downhill. And that's great if you're able to do that. But I just think it's a challenge, especially without the floor spacing. So to me, like, I would not want to do that with Kobe at all, because I think Kobe's better and I would rather just pay to keep him.
Yeah.
But if it's Lonzo, who I think they should be trading anyway, plus an asset that's not going to kill you long term, I do think taking that kind of an upside swing is something that the Bulls should be doing. It's kind of the same approach that they took with Giddey. We didn't necessarily love the price that they paid to get Giddey, but the idea of going after a young player, distressed asset who you're kind of buying low on, who has talent, who just hasn't found the right place, like that's the kind of swing that they should be making if it's not going to be at the top of the draft, if it's not going to be, you know, going about it that way, then those are the kinds of players. The problem is that you're just having to pay them immediately. And so without a lot of information. So it's just a bit of a challenge there. But
I can see it,
to me, I think Kuminga is like a fine upside swing. I wouldn't want to mortgage the future for him because of the question marks that we have.
Yeah, see, they're mixed in the comments about Kuminga, which is awesome, by the way. Mott saying Kuminga would take the number 1 defensive matchup and give Buzelis the number 2 matchup. Miguel saying Kuminga is going to take the shots Buzelis needs. In terms of that, in terms of that kind of fit with Modest Buzelis, who I've already told you on this show, I think has to be the guy for stuff to really, truly work. Does that kind of take away from Modest Buzelis' growth and what they want him to be and what he, might want to be in a year or two?
Probably takes away some touches, yeah. But I think with the way that the Bulls,
in a bad way though, like I'm saying, like Kuminga can score and get those buckets.
Yeah,
is it a terrible thing?
I don't think it's a terrible thing. Like I think at the end of the day, they're not going to be like fighting over the basketball, right? Like they have to play within the system to the extent that the Bulls system tries to get guys easy shots by playing with an advantage. And I think that you're putting yourself in a situation where you don't have a lot of plus passers on the team. You have Giddey, who's a very much a plus passer.
Yeah.
I think Kobe at this point is like a neutral to slightly positive passer. I don't think Modest or Kuminga are plus passers at this point. And so maybe that could change. Maybe they develop into that. It's not like they aren't willing to pass, but it's just like in terms of their primary skill sets, that's not something that they are, that they thrive in at this point in their career. That could change for sure, but I do wonder how they would be making each other better. From a defensive standpoint, I think it gives you athleticism, switchability, versatility, downhill pressure. All those things are really good, but is it worth the cost? And that's really the question with all these, fake trades or, who should they draft, whatever it may be. Like, should they move up for Ace Bailey, as we'll talk about later? All those things are interesting questions in a vacuum, but you also have to consider like the context and the cost for it. And I think that's really the challenge. It's like, to me, I'm not putting Kobe in that deal. If you can get it for Lonzo or Vooch somehow, you can make the money work there in terms of adding an additional player coming back from the Warriors. Like, sure, now we can talk, because I don't think that the cost is, I think the upside exceeds the risk and the cost with that. But if you're trying to put in one of your better players, now it's like a harder thing to accept for me.
Yeah, no, I understand that. Even as far as fit, I saw Bobby Marks has the teams that fit best as Golden State and, as you were talking about, Brooklyn as the teams that kind of fit with him, which is why, it's hard for me to see this with the Bulls, man, just because it feels like they're more set on what they are than Brooklyn is right now, and even in Golden State. And also, Kuminga could sign a $10.2 million qualifying offer and become an unrestricted free agent next year, and see if he can get more money that way as well. So
that's the Big Dave special, what he suggested about Josh Giddey. And I think that makes a lot of sense, not just for Kuminga, but potentially with Giddey too. Like, if he's not getting the number that he wants and feels like he's going to bet on himself, become an unrestricted free agent next summer when a lot more teams have cap space, now you have leverage. And I think you're costing yourself potentially $15 million of money this year and still not guaranteeing yourself anything. But if you feel like you can double the amount that you're going to make and get up to $35, $40 million next year, then maybe it's worth that risk. So that's up to a player and his agent to decide. I probably would just like take $100 million guaranteed, because that's an incredible amount of money. But you can understand why these guys who have incredible amount of confidence and belief in their ability would want to bet on themselves to make even more money.
Makes sense to me. Coming back, find out who our mystery guest is with us, ladies and gentlemen, and we will definitely have some Ace Bailey talk as well. CHGO Bulls Podcast, Spirit Week. Come on back. Empire Today has 3 words for you. Don't get biffed, ladies and gentlemen. You don't want to go to that big box store on a Saturday when it's hot outside. You go inside, try to look at some floors. Biff comes over. He don't know what he's talking about because he's been working in plumbing, and he's trying to ask you questions about flooring, and he doesn't know what to do. He's so lost, and then he runs away sad. He doesn't want to get yelled at. Don't get biffed. You've wasted your Saturday and your time. Stay with Empire Today with that shop-at-home convenience, ladies and gentlemen. They are flooring experts, dedicated flooring professionals whose focus is on flooring every single day. You get clear, upfront, and all-inclusive pricing, plus you can schedule installation as soon as the next day. Schedule a free in-home estimate today because some things are just better at home. CHGO listeners, you can receive a $350 discount when using that promo code CHGO. Yep, you heard me. $350 is your discount with that code CHGO. Restrictions apply. Visit empiretoday.com/CHGO for full details. 588-2300 Empire Today.
Whatever the sport, Dave, the app to bet is Circa Sports Illinois. Circa Sports, it's sports betting the way it should be. Circa Sports Illinois has high betting limits, low holds, and exceptional customer service. That means no chatbots trying to take over the world and preventing Matt Peck from proving how smart he is by winning all of his wagers. You can bet on all your favorite teams in every game this season. A couple more games in the NBA Finals. You know we'll be betting on them. Spreads, props, futures, in-game live lines. Circa has it all. Fund and bet like a pro from anywhere, anytime in Illinois. Download your new bookie today at circasports.com. Must be 21 or older. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Rolling along, ladies and gentlemen.
Never a doubt.
CHGO Bulls podcast. So what happens when you got 2 pillows? You get up and out that seat real nice and tight. Big Dave. My man Will to go Gottlieb, Katie on production. Well, it is now time. It is Mystery Guest Day here during CHGO Spirit Week. Goat, you excited to find this out and terrified, as I said?
I'm just excited.
All right, just excited.
I'm just kidding.
I have no idea who it is. It's
Put
Greg
your guesses
Braggs.
in the chat.
Put your guesses in the chat. Adam Amin. Adam Amin. Put your guesses in the chat about who it will be. I guess it is time for the reveal. Katie Duffy, who is our mystery guest today? Scoop B.
Scoop B.
What's going on, fellas?
Hello, sir.
Scoop B, how we doing?
I'm hanging in. How you guys doing?
Man, I'm doing
Good to see
wonderful.
you again.
This is an awesome mystery
Yeah,
guest.
this really
Shout out
is.
to the man Scoop B, ladies and gentlemen. Oh, we definitely, as Katie gave us hints, she told us we both follow him on Twitter for sure. I'm always watching for his takes, especially anything to do with the Brooklyn Nets. That man is plugged in on what is going on.
And he was in Chicago recently towards the end of last season, had some great stuff with Billy and with Vooch, and it was good to catch up with you then. How'd you get roped into this?
Shout out to Tony Gill. Tony texted me the other day and connected me to Katie, and he said that you guys had a mystery guest, and I, as they say in the church, I thought it not robbery to come in and sit down with you all.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, man. Bro, we are very happy that you're here, man. Thank you for stopping by. And since you're here, let's ask you some questions about the Chicago Bulls because he shed tears. I've shed tears. Matt Peck has shed tears and thrown hats over this team. What do you think just about the overall future of this Chicago Bulls team? They've switched up what they did in the first half of the season, traded Zach LaVine, getting rid of those guys. They've gone younger. Josh Giddey is going to get his contract and things this year. Some Bulls fans are just not really high on what they have. Others think that there is real, true potential in this future. What are your feelings about the Chicago Bulls?
Well, I'll tell you what, there's more to life than the viral sensation of Josh Giddey calling to say goodnight. When I look at just this team overall, I think it's a time of growth. I spent some time with Kobe after hours, and we talked about just the direction of the team. And one of the things that Kobe shared with me was that despite the fact that both he and Zach LaVine are no longer teammates, Zach LaVine's father still sends Kobe notes about his gameplay. So despite the fact that LaVine is no longer there, there still is a LaVine who is watching on League Pass and taking notes. And the guys genuinely want to be there. Vooch has been a guy that has been a topic of conversation. I know at the deadline, the Warriors were a team that were looking into his services, and that could continue in the future. We'll see. But there are guys that literally want to be there. Zach Collins has intimated to me. I've covered his career since he was the day before he was drafted, and he feels like he's in a good place. He likes Billy, and he likes just his candor and his ability to get down to business. I think that unfortunately, and fortunately, the Bulls faithful want to see some results. I think for many years we've gone from Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen winning multiple championships, and then Eddie Curry and Tyson Chandler coming in, and Derrick Rose being successful, and then injuries kind of being an issue. And there's always been this expectation, but there's been no delivery or results. I don't agree with Kobe White being shipped out for Kuminga. I really do think that he is the heart and soul and homegrown talent that is the Chicago Bulls, if you will. Kind of like with baseball, when you look at the Yankees in the 90s, I know this is a Chicago market, New York market is my home, but when you look at the Yankees and you look at how they built homegrown talent, whether that was the farm system, guys like Bernie Williams, David Cone, Derek Jeter, and others, you built a system over time. And I really like this young group of guys that like to be there.
What do you kind of anticipate happens with Josh Giddey? I mean, I tend to agree that like this is kind of the young core that they're working with, but just in terms of the contract, obviously you're out in the New York area. Brooklyn is a team that is potentially going to have cap space, may look to throw an offer sheet. Do you think he sticks around in Chicago, or do you think some other teams might get competitive for his services?
I mean, he's saying all the right things. I have not heard Brooklyn as a name for Josh Giddey, so no, I can't surmise that is a team, but I would imagine there are some teams. I think, his time in Oklahoma, I really do think that Oklahoma and Chicago made the moves that were best for both of their agenda. With Caruso coming to Oklahoma and being the defensive stopper that they needed, and Giddey getting a fresh start for himself, his name, and just his future. And I think that he's proven on the basketball court that he needs the money, or he is deserving of the money. We all need money, but he is deserving of the money that he seeks. And so I wouldn't be surprised that there are some teams. I think there are teams out there that definitely will look. But I just look at him as a Bull.
What was your opinion on the Josh Giddey trade? Were you okay with just the two guys in the transaction, or do you think the Bulls should have gotten a little bit more on that end for as high valued Alex Caruso was at that time?
I kind of was looking at it more from who else was on that team, like how Giddey was going to flow with Kobe, was going to flow with Lonzo if healthy, and how that was going to flow with LaVine. And a lot of those questions were answered. LaVine was gone, and Lonzo is still finding his way. And I think that, and I'm being gracious when I say that. I mean, it sucks to see Lonzo Ball be in this predicament, because they really built that Chicago Bulls team with Lonzo, with Kobe, with Vooch, with LaVine, and with DeRozan in mind to really be competitive. Like, I think one of the biggest what ifs is, what if Lonzo was healthy, and what if so much of the playmaking wasn't doled out to LaVine, who is, a point forward and combo guard at the same time. Like, he was literally like the president, the vice president, the governor, the executive board, Doge, everything in between. And, it was a situation where, he got tired. He wanted to go elsewhere. And I think what opened up for him was the opportunity, meaning Giddey, to really be successful at just playing his game. I think that when you looked at Oklahoma was Shai Gilgeous-Alexander's team. And I think that Alex Caruso is, for Oklahoma, what they thought Giddey was going to be. And I have often felt that for Oklahoma, that was the biggest transaction of the offseason last year. And I said that back then, like, Hartenstein and Giddey coming to Oklahoma was the biggest situation. As it relates to what it looks like at home, maybe they could have got more, but here we are now.
turning from draft picks in the past to draft pick in the future and the present here, what do you think about the Bulls at 12? Hearing anything? Just give you a chance to kind of go on the draft.
Well, I know that, and I was in the chat. I was in the green room listening to you guys talk about Ace Bailey. I covered Rutgers extensively last season, and I know that there are many experts who are kind of debating Ace Bailey's future and where he'll be. I can tell you that I'll stick there because I know that it's a trending topic in Chicago. I will say that I know that Utah has called quite a bit about Ace, and there are some reports that I saw today about his stat dropping because of his interview and just where people perceive him to be. I've had conversations with folks in the know for the last couple of months, and they feel as though the draft is not going to go as many people think it's going to go past 3. And I'd love to see a scenario where he goes to a Chicago or Utah. I know that, you look at 1 and 2, you kind of know who they are. I've reported extensively on 2. But I think with Bailey, I think Chicago will be a great place for Bailey to grow. And I'll be even more specific. Will, you made mention of my conversation with Billy Donovan a couple months ago, and him talking about guys who are winners and guys who are, really locked in. And that kind of goes, in my opinion, with where Ace would fit. Young talent knowing how to be ready in the moment. And I really think that if he drops that far down, Chicago will be the perfect place for him. But outside of that, I think that many of the general audience is still kind of getting acclimated with who else is out there besides Dylan Harper, Edgecombe, Ace Bailey, and others. I think that this draft is so wide open, and I wonder if it's going to, we look back maybe 5 years from now and be like, wow, this was a deep draft after all.
Yeah,
But
totally agree with
I'd
that.
like to see Ace Bailey go to Chicago.
Yes, you and I both, sir. Absolutely would love to see that for sure. Is there, speaking of your idea that this may go down as a deep draft, is there a player in this draft that you just are completely in love with? Like, for me, it's Cedric Coward. Like, that is my guy. I love Cedric Coward. I would love for the Bulls to take him if they don't trade up to get a guy like Ace Bailey. Is there another guy like that for you in this draft?
Not off the top of my head, but if I may, they say you're not supposed to read the comments. I'm cheating. I'm reading the comments. And someone said in the comments, the Shy said, Ace Bailey is better than P. Will. Not going to lie. I still think that Patrick Williams is another one of those guys where his story and his connectivity to Chicago, as one of, honestly, as young as he is, he's still such a big fabric to the organization for so long. You don't replace a P. Will at all. I think that when you look at the Bulls and you look at just their trajectory, not named Levine, not named Kobe, he's been part of that process. I think sometimes people say things and throw comparisons just because of names, because it sounds good. Ace is still going to be a guy that you're going to have to grow with, and that's just from watching him up close. Like, I know people sometimes make comparisons. Like, I remember people were saying, they were talking about Tracy McGrady and comparing him to Tracy, and I asked Tracy. Tracy actually was at a Rutgers game, and I asked him if he saw the comparison. He goes, no. He goes, stop throwing names out just because somebody's tall and lanky. And I said, who does he compare to? And he looked at me and said, I'm not telling you. And he still hasn't told me. I think that the one thing about the draft is, I think we use the draft. I think we have such an expectation for players. We use the draft like the GOAT conversation and how many rings somebody has. And I think these are still young kids. And I think the beauty in the draft is you may win, you may lose. And that's like picking a girlfriend. That's like picking a wife. That's like picking a car a used car or a car with certified pre-owned mileage on it. Like I think the Bulls are in such a good position. Like as a young team, I'm excited for their future.
I think one of the things that, in terms of being excited about the future, like people are looking forward to, is maybe how you can draw comparisons to what the Pacers have done, and just their trajectory as a young team. Some of the trades that they made, obviously the play style, getting up and down, playing just incredibly physically with high intensity. So just curious about like your take on these finals and the Eastern Conference landscape in general. I mean, do you feel like it's as open as some people seem to think, or do you think that there still is a lot of high level talent, even though maybe the Celtics take a bit of a step back next year? The Cavs didn't make it as far as they would have wanted to.
Well, I think your analogy of your observation rather of the Pacers and the Thunder is astute, because they literally built both teams like a college team. I think the only difference with the Pacers in my mind is they made that Siakam move, which I think was a game changer, because he had a championship pedigree. And I think what stands out specifically about the Pacers is not only did you have Siakam, you traded to get Halliburton. Halliburton was almost a 76er. He was almost shipped from Sacramento to Philadelphia in a Ben Simmons move a couple of years ago. Tobias Harris would have been included, but it's really fascinating to see the Pacers build, and not just build, but literally David to every major team's Goliath. Like I don't think we give enough credence to the fact that the Pacers knocked out the Bucks, the Cavaliers, and the New York Knicks. The Pacers are the epitome of that fifth cup of wine at the holiday party that sneaks up on you, and it's like, boom, it's time to order an Uber. I think for the Thunder, it was a lot more deliberate. I think the Pacers came out of nowhere to use that fifth cup of wine at the holiday party. Like the Thunder were building based upon, from the time they traded Paul George, they were building in 2019. And I think bringing in Coach Mike, I think bringing in drafting Chet Holmgren, I believe, maintaining the contract of Lou Dort, drafting Jalen Williams. Like this is a repeat of what the Thunder did when they drafted Russell Westbrook, James Harden, and Kevin Durant, in the juxtaposition between the Sonics and the Thunder. I think in answer to your question about the East, I can say that there are people who are stars who are looking at the East and looking to make moves. If you've paid attention to my reporting specifically about Giannis and his desire to stay East, I was probably the first or one of the first to talk about the Toronto Raptors. Toronto was looking to make moves in the Eastern Conference, and they are looking towards the future and have assets to do so while also building in the current with young players. That's the move now. It's interesting. I'll be dropping something later this week with Hall of Famer Michael Cooper, and I asked him if the Lakers were a super team during the Showtime era Lakers, and he said yes, and it was because they built through the draft and built around Kareem and built around Magic and built around himself and Byron Scott. And I look at the Thunder similarly. They built around a team. There's a chance that the Thunder could literally name, or the NBA could vote Jalen Williams as the NBA Finals MVP if they win. And I think that's significant because everybody's on the Shai Gilgeous-Alexander bandwagon. I think for the Eastern Conference, it is wide open. It reminds me so much of when LeBron left the Eastern Conference to go to the West to play for the Lakers. There's a lot of shifting going on right now. Not to bore you with just words, but I do think that the Eastern Conference has a lot of creativity for people to make things happen.
School, thank you for joining us. We'll get you out of here on this one. Actually, it's two questions. One, who do you have winning this NBA final, sir? Do you think it's going to go Game 7? And do you have any other tidbits or nuggets you could drop about the Chicago Bulls as far as who they're looking at in free agency, and is their name coming up and trading up to get a draft or trading down?
I haven't heard anything about the Chicago Bulls. I'll get to the nuts and bolts and nitty gritty first. I haven't heard anything about the Bulls. As far as the first question you asked, you asked me about
the finals. Yes, sir.
Every show that I've been on, I'm going to say this, and I've said it consistently. The answer is I don't know. And the reason why I don't know is for everything that I described about the Pacers. They are that fifth cup of wine. And I think that for Oklahoma, they are the fan favorite. And I just think that as a basketball lifer, taking what I do as far as news and just information, I just like good basketball. And I think that a lot of people just thought this was going to be a boring series, and it's been the exact opposite. And so for it to go 7 games, I'd love to see it because I think they're playing just harmonious, poetic, and synchronous. I think that's a word. Synchromatic basketball that I think is good to watch. And it's young people, not named LeBron and Steph Curry.
True. You can follow him on Twitter at Scoop B. This was an awesome guest, a really awesome, wonderful surprise, man, to have you on here, man.
Great to have you on,
We definitely love you and respect what you do and how long you've been doing it, man. So really appreciate you coming on. We'd love to have you back another time for sure.
Listen, thank you for the opportunity to be myself, and I'm here. I get to take off the suit now and relax.
Hey, man, next time you're on, no need to be wearing a suit. We're wearing shorts and T-shirts today.
It's cool. You look great, though.
You look great.
But
get comfortable.
Thank you. Oh, I'm going to do that now. Come on now.
All right, Scoop. Thanks for joining us, bro.
Thank you, gentlemen.
My man, dog. That is Scoop B, ladies and gentlemen. That is awesome.
Scoop is everywhere.
Yeah, bro.
Scoop
He's been everywhere since forever.
Scoop came to cover a couple of Bulls games down the stretch. He's just like, everybody knows him. Everybody's talking to him. Everybody's just chopping it up with everyone.
Yeah, man.
I remember seeing him in Paris when the Bulls played there.
He sure was. Yeah.
He's just everywhere.
Since he was like 12 years old, he's been at this.
He's locked in.
He's locked in for sure. He's been doing his thing. That was an awesome guest, man. And it seems like in the comments they definitely enjoyed Scoop B. Hit the like button for Scoop B and also donate to the big brothers and big sisters of America for yourselves, ladies and gentlemen. Before we get to Ace Bailey, Katie, can you bring back up with Ball Brain? I saw my name coming up with my man Ball Brain talking about something with Cedric Coward. I didn't see all of it, so I just wanted to see what it was. Oh, there is. Oh, my OMG, stop with the Cedric Coward already, Big Dave. Cedric Coward, Cedric Coward, Cedric Coward, Cedric Coward.
They did follow it up with an LOL. Does that make you feel better?
Well, Cedric Coward. I love Cedric Coward. This is what it is, bro. Hey, that's my guy. I love me some Cedric Coward. But you also know who else I love? Ace Bailey, ladies and gentlemen. I am a huge fan of Ace Bailey. Shout out to Scoop B bringing him up as well, man. But there is some Ace Bailey news we need to get into, man. So he might be a thing. He might be a thing. I'm just saying, he might be a thing. I'm going to read it. It's just, he might be a thing. All right, I got Brent Siegel from Close Point saying Derek Queen, Carter Bryant, Yegor Denman, Asa Newell are 4 picks names that have come up the most when discussing the Bulls' 12th pick with league personnel. Chicago is also lurking as potential trade-up candidates should Ace Bailey fall outside the top 3. Why would you do this to me? Mr. Siegel, why would you do stuff like this to me? You also sent me over Jonathan Gavoni's NBA mock draft and had Ace Bailey falling to number 6. And he said Bailey's pre-draft workout strategy has perplexed some observers as he has yet to conduct a single known workout to date, having declined invitations from several teams within his draft range. Sources say Bailey's camp has informed interested teams that they believe he is a top 3 player in the draft, but also seeks a clearer pathway to stardom, perhaps feeling comfortable that the team that will trade up to get him at number 3 or 4 should he drop. Tell me why the Chicago Bulls will make this happen and will make me the happiest man on earth. Come on, go. Put the camera on him, Katie.
I think it's interesting that they're talking about him falling outside the top 5. Like,
that's very interesting. Yes.
To me, like, there's been, obviously, let's like zoom back out to last summer at this time. Everybody was like, okay, next year's draft, you got Cooper, you got Ace, you got BJ, and you got Harper. Yes. And all 4 of those guys were like, could have been number 1 overall picks.
Sure.
But really it was Ace and Cooper.
Yeah.
And throughout the course of the season, obviously at Rutgers, didn't go great, wasn't terrible by any means. You saw a lot of what he is really good at, which is shot making, tough shot creation, and just like being a bucket, which at 6'8", I think he actually measured a little bit smaller than that. People thought he was like 6'10". I think he measured 6'7.5" at the combine. So a little bit shorter than people thought. Season didn't go as well as he would have hoped. But like this idea that he should be like falling outside of the top 4 is kind of crazy to me. I think he's still like, I guess I'll say like this draft does not have a ton of high upside in my opinion. I think Cooper is going to be a star. I think Harper has a chance to be an all-star caliber player. Beyond that, you're looking at like VJ, Con Knipple. I think those guys are going to be really good role players. Maybe could make an all-star game once or twice. I think they're going to be really good. I've kind of come down on Derek Queen a little bit of late, but I still think he's like a high upside talent. Jeremiah Fears, Trey Johnson. To me, like none of these guys have as much upside as Ace does, just as a 6'8" shot-making wing who can defend at a high level. I think the passing is something that he's going to really need to improve on and work on. But like the tools there are pretty incredible for an athletic big wing who can create his own shot. To me, he's an easy top 4 pick in this draft. Maybe 5 you could convince me. Like if somebody was really high on Trey Johnson or Con Knipple, I'd still probably go Ace top 4. Sure. Right now I have him 4th. But yeah, if he were to drop to 5th or 6th and the Bulls had an opportunity, I think they would certainly have to look at it. Yeah. And I think really it's just about what is the cost, as the Shy says in the comments. I don't know. For me, it's like to go from 8 to 6 if Ace falls is probably not that expensive, right? That's only 2 spots. But from 12 to 5 or 6, now you're talking about having to add multiple assets in there to try to make that work. And so I was talking to some other Bulls Reporter friends and just trying to get a sense of like what the price would be. And there's this website called NBAsense.com that has a trade pick evaluator. Basically, you can like assign value to certain slots in the draft. And this was saying the cost to move up to 3 is 12 and 18. So Bulls don't have the 18th pick, obviously. How do you make up for that? To me, it's like it probably starts with the Portland pick and probably one more additional protected first. I probably would not go unprotected on that. Probably would want it to be like top 8 protected or top 10 protected. But I could see an argument for top 4. And I'd be curious to know what you think about that price. Would you move up from 12 to 5 or 6 to draft Ace Bailey if that was the cost?
Yes.
12 plus Portland plus another future first.
Yeah, I would. Absolutely. And shout out to my man. Hey, I saw Hayes in the comments. Shout out to the man Hayes, bro, Chicago Bulls Central. But yes, absolutely. I would absolutely make this trade because when we were talking about it off camera, I thought you made a great point, as you usually do, was it's about how you feel about them. If a lot of people around the league don't feel, as Scoop was just saying, are kind of, getting a little more down on a guy like Ace Bailey. I haven't wavered in my feeling of Ace Bailey and how good I think this young man is and how good I think this young man can be and how I feel like a guy like him is absolutely worth the risk when you're talking about a couple of picks. Plus, Will, as I said to you, I feel like this makes it simple for the Bulls front office because there are a bunch of other cool things that they could do with additional picks, like a bunch of awesome complex things that they could probably do. But this is something that is truly a simplifier. Hey, you give me this and this, we'll give you Ace Bailey. That's not just a hope, that's a name. We'll give you Ace Bailey. That comes with, regardless of how his career goes, immediately comes with the recognition and put some eyes on you. And we all know the front office wants to put butts in the seats. So that puts butts more in the seats and more eyes will be on you more than they already are because, the Bulls are definitely a global brand. So bringing a guy like Ace and comparing him with a guy like Modest Zealous, my God, like that is an awesome, awesome comparison. And now I think you got yourself a stew going at that point in time, comparing that, putting that with a guy like Josh Giddey and a Kobe White. With those two guys there, I think that is an awesome, sexy, attractive thing to do, man. And that is just really, really cool. We're going to end it right now on the Fast channel. Thank y'all for joining us, man. Make sure you're donating. Make sure you're hitting the like button for Katie. But we're going to go to overtime and continue this conversation.
And just while we're doing that, again, a reminder, you can click on the little handshake with the heart icon next to the chat button if you want to help us out and donate to the Big Brothers and Big Sisters of America, one of our partners and our sponsors here at CHGO, doing a lot of cool work with them here as a part of Spirit Week and beyond.
But dysfunctional, like you say, butts are already in the seats. No, my friend. Like, we're talking the seats and the suites. You got to be in both out here, and they got to get all that. So what's better than some? All. And we want all of it, and that will give them more and more and more things. Because, honestly, it gives you more hope for the Bulls' future. It definitely gives me more hope for this Bulls' future. When I'm bringing in two guys like a Modest Zealous and an Ace Bailey to play, and I got Josh Giddey dishing the ball to you, and I got Kobe White right there, bro, I'm watching. I'm coming in. I'm excited to see what could happen with those kind of things. So it's an immediacy for me, Will, why I would go ahead and do that more so than a kick the can. Not even, I shouldn't even say kick the can, but just more than a down the road thing that future draft picks could get you. I'm telling you right now, this is a top 3, top 5 prospect in the draft that can get you on this team right now today. That is something I would absolutely do.
Yeah, and I think like where you're looking at, some of the other upside swings in the 4 to 12 range, it's like Jeremiah Fears, Kasparis Yakachonis, Trey Johnson. Those are like guards that the Bulls don't need, assuming that we're looking at this from the perspective of that they are building around their core, which is Kobe, Giddey, and Modest. What do you really need in there? You need a wing who can dribble, pass, shoot, defend, and you need a big. And like Ace falls into one of those categories. So I think he does make sense as an upside swing who fits what you need. I think the question is just, as you said before, how do you feel about him actually getting to that upside? For me, like, I probably would not do that. I think it's a little bit too much to give up for a guy that, like, yes, I think does have a very high ceiling, but I also feel like there is just a little bit of risk there with who he could turn out to be. And like, I mean, Johnny brings up Cam Reddish. I think he's going to be better than Cam Reddish, but like, let's say he turns into that kind of player. Sure. Like you think you're getting, I don't know, Tracy McGrady, for example. We just made that comparison. So it's the first thing that comes off
I never thought he was Tracy McGrady.
But he turns into more of a Cam Reddish. Or maybe you think you're getting, Jabari Smith, and it turns out to be a much worse player than that, who can like maybe contribute, but it's just a lot to give up for me. And so to me, like, I'm just not that interested in moving up in this draft because, one, I think the cost is going to be too great because the depth from me for like 4 or 5 down to 12 is like you're getting a similar caliber of player. Sure. And I would rather wait to 12, see what's there, and then move back if I needed to compared to move up for Ace. Now, if this was Cooper, for sure, I would give up way more than that. But I'm not sold on Ace to the point where I'd be willing to give up 2 additional first-round picks for him. I totally understand if you feel that way, if you or anybody else feels that way, because, again, if you're convicted about his talent and what he can be, then I think that price is worth it to pay, especially if he falls and you're not moving up to 3, but you're moving up to 6. To me, it's like, would you rather have Essengay or Colin Murray Boyles and the Blazers pick, which maybe could be 16 next year, and another first-round pick? Like, to me, I just am not so sure about Ace that I would rather have him than that package.
I understand.
And so, I don't think that's like a, hardcore thing. It's just like a hardcore disagreement. I think it's just like a slight difference in the way that we value that guy.
Sure. No, and I get where you're coming from. Like, you always want more bites at the apple.
Yeah.
And you want the value for what it is right then and there. And like you said, if you don't feel the value is that for a guy like Ace, then that doesn't get you super excited about it. I think the difference for me, like I saw someone comparing, like Cam Reddish kept coming up. I watched Cam Reddish a lot, definitely in college. I never thought Cam Reddish was going to be that dude when he came out in the draft. I thought he was going to be a player, but I never thought he was that dude. Now, the other side of this with Ace Bailey is the mental makeup. Like, that's something we can't really judge right now, right? So that's something we just don't know. And I think that's the one thing that's kind of hurting him right now by saying, hey, I'm not going to go work out for these other teams, because even if you feel it's the right thing to do, it labels you as somebody with a high ego or something like that. You know what I mean? Like, oh,
whether
man,
or not
this guy
that's
is
true,
whether or not it's true.
Yeah.
It labels you as somebody as difficult to work with, or like that kind of guy, and that lowers your stock. And I think that's why Jonathan had him dropping to number 6. Now, personally, I don't think he'll get past 5. I think Utah will definitely snap him up in a heartbeat and get a guy like Ace Bailey. But I think that's what it lends itself to. And I get that. And D-Law says it right. Like, could label him as a diva by doing this kind of things. Me personally, I don't care about none of that. As long as you're balling. Like, I've watched many a diva ball. Jimmy Butler was a diva, and you love Jimmy Butler. It's about doing what you ball and do on the floor, man. So does he put in that work? And that's what I want to know more about. The work, what he does, I understand, fine, he might not want to work out with you. You mentioned Shedeur Sanders and guys like that didn't want to do his stuff like that. Well, Shedeur Sanders already put in the work all the time. I already knew that about Shedeur Sanders, man. He worked. So I wasn't worried about him being good or what he was going to bring to a team. Ace Bailey, I can't sit here and totally tell you that I know that. I'm just going off of what I have watched from him do all season long. And that's the other thing I can't compare him to Cam Reddish on. Cam Reddish is a 6'7" guy. This dude is 6'10", who can be unstoppable. That's what I was watching and looking at, and hitting the most difficult shots at an incredibly high clip. That is a rarity to me in the NBA when you can find somebody with that height that can do those kind of things, man. And comparing that with a guy like Modest Buzelis, and comparing that with a facilitator like Giddey, and comparing that with a guy like Kobe White is what gets me excited and why I would go ahead and move forward and make a trade like that.
Yeah, and again, I totally understand that. I think it's just a difference in where you see his upside. Sure. And I also think it's like, what is the cost there? And so, for me,
what would be a cost for you that you would be okay?
Like, here's one thing I was thinking about. Like, okay, we talked about 12 and 18 being the price to move up to 3. Like, had the Bulls done the Lonzo trade and gotten what turned into the 18th pick, I would feel much more comfortable doing that because you're not sacrificing any of your future picks. You're just using what you have now.
Sure.
Like, I think there's an argument to be made that Colin Murray Boyles and, Joan Berenger would have been a better package than coming out with Ace Bailey if you're a young rebuilding team that needs depth. Sure. Like, I could see that argument too, but I'd feel more comfortable doing it that way if you had used an asset. Like, I'm not saying Lonzo is like not useful to the Bulls. It's just that I think he is worth more to another team than the Bulls, and that's when you have leverage to get a good asset in return. Sure. Whereas I think the Bulls are in a position now where they need to continue to like add assets to the treasure trove here, that giving them up is probably a scarier thing to do. So
adding the assets is bigger than adding the player that you don't have the high value on.
Yeah. And so, like, if you are trying to package those assets together to move up, you just have to be really sure, because it's that does cost you.
Yeah.
And so again, I don't think I would do this because I'm a little bit too risk averse on Ace specifically.
Sure.
But I would get it if they did. I feel like there is upside there. I feel like he fits what they are trying to do. I do think he actually has some similar questions to the ones that I have about Kuminga in terms of passing, decision-making, fitting into a system. But that's what could make him available. And so if you are really excited about that upside, I would understand why you'd want to do that.
Yeah. And again, it's the draft. Hey, Ace Bailey could turn out not to be that guy. He could turn out to be that guy. Like Go said, it's just how you feel about the players. So, yeah, tell us how you all feel about him, man. Continue to drop it in the comments. Hit the like button on your way out. Make sure you're donating to the big brothers and big sisters of America. The hand icon in that corner, you see that? Click that. 100% of the proceeds go directly to the BBBA. Thank y'all for joining us here. Thank you to our special mystery guest, Scoop B. That is that man, Will the Go Gottlieb.
For setting it up.
Oh, yes, and big shout out to Tony Gill for the setup as well. Thank you, sir. That is Will the Go Gottlieb. That is Katie Duffy. I am Big Dave. See y'all next time. CHGO Bulls, y'all. Peace.
We all silly like the mayor.